Hello and welcome to Coronacast, episode 16. I think it could be episode 20. Time means nothing here, and I haven't kept track of the number of episodes. We're going to have some fun. If you want to be a guest, you can just visit this website right here. There you go. I know it's a weird string of letters and numbers and things, but it's right there. C877N2JZZU, my nickname in high school. If you join that, you're going to flash up in my virtual green room, and I might be able to chat with you for a little bit. Also, every Wednesday, I'm on a hiatus from my two weekly shows. It's where I work on new things, and this way, every time the shows come back, they're bigger and better than ever. But every Wednesday, except for this one and the last one, is Who Books That with Harrison Greenbaum. Go to whobooksthat.com, 7 p.m. The guests are going to be amazing. The last guest was Harry Lorraine. It was insane. And every Thursday, Scam Online, magicscam.com. We have some crazy big announcements that are coming up. So make sure you check that out. And I'm at Harrison Comedy on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi, everybody. We have a bunch of people watching. Ian Kent, hello. How you doing, sir? The name of this one is, it's Playing with Toys. I'm playing with some new toys here. We're going to try something fancy in just a moment. But I have been in quarantine with my lovely girlfriend, Emily, and we played a lot of two-player games. So if you were looking for some two-player games to play, I feel like it's a lot harder to play board games. Most board games are really 4 to 5 people. That seemed to be a sweet spot. Maybe 3 if you got the right game. But, Pete Enamarato, hello, sir. How you doing? Thank you for watching. I appreciate that very much. So I'm going to go through some of my favorite two-player board games, and that's some of the toys we're showing off. But the other toy we're showing off, check this out. I can show you the game this way. I could also show you the game. Here's where it gets fancy. Is that way. We have like a little inset camera. Isn't that fun? We also can do that. That's just very exciting. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any delay. I'm going to clap. Hopefully that clap is synced up. We'll find out. That's the hope here. So yeah, we're trying to, one of the toys is all the camera stuff. One of the reasons we have Coronacast is it lets me play with some of this tech before I introduce it into some of the more official programming. But yeah, let's look at this game right here. You can see the keyboard I'm using in the shot to control all of this stuff. And I think that's okay. But we have Star Realms. If you're looking for a fantastic two-player game, you can't really do better than Star Realms. If you like Magic the Gathering, and I know I did briefly, this game is like Magic the Gathering, except you don't have to invest a ton of money unless you want to. In Magic the Gathering, your deck is probably as good as the cards you can buy. But in Star Realms, this is the whole game. This is literally the whole game. You open them up, and check this out. That's all you need. That's crotch cam. That's right. I need to cover my crotch, Danny Braff. You're correct. It is crotch cam. Let's turn that on. Sasha's in the building. Madeline's in the building. No delay. That's very exciting. I've actually sneakily added a mic delay because all the processing power of all this stuff is insane. But let's see. This is going to be a whole brave new world. But yeah, so this is Star Realms. This is the whole game. You have to. You're doing space battles. And this is the whole game. It fits any apartment, including this one. And you're seeing most of my apartment right now can fit this game. So I highly recommend Star Realms. Does anybody want to hear me recommend more board games or talk about anything else? Honestly, the beauty of the Coronacast is that anybody can be a special guest and anybody can ask me anything. But if you're interested in some board games, we got this great one right here. Patchwork. Wow. Is it necessary to have 2 cameras right now? Absolutely not. But it's fun. We're having fun. We can even just go full fancy. That's full fancy cam. Am I testing it? Is that why I'm clapping? Absolutely. But yeah, Patchwork is great. It's like Tetris. The whole story of this video game is that you're both grandmothers. And at the end of the game, you both die. And whoever makes the better quilt for their surviving kin is the winner. It's the saddest story for a board game that is imaginable. Madeline says, do you buy 1 deck per player? Let's hear more about games. All right. This I can do. This I can absolutely do. I was holding 2 decks before because one is just an expansion. You can essentially keep adding new decks, but it's for both players. Every player starts with the same 10 cards, same 10 cards, and then each one of you are able to sort of buy cards from the store. So there's nobody starts with a better deck than anybody else. Everybody starts with the exact same deck. So if you keep adding to your thing, let's go to Fancy Cam. If you bought this has starter decks enough for 2 people, plus all the cards that you would be buying during the game because you buy and fight. And then this one can also play as its own separate game where you mush them together. That's not how you mush them together. But if you do that, you end up with a very long game. No, the games usually take about the same amount of time. It's really exciting. There's an app. I'm somehow a ranked player. I don't know why. Why am I a ranked player in this? Patchwork is the Dead Grandma game. And then I'm just skipping ahead to what is my favorite game, my favorite 2-player game. If you like Jurassic Park and checkers and you wish they had a baby that also had cards, then this is your game. This is probably why I'm not a professional board game reviewer, but it's okay. It's Raptor. That's what we're talking about. Raptor is a fantastic game. Oh, yes. And you play as, let's open it up. You either get to play as a scientist or as a dinosaur. That's very exciting. You can see this in both angles. There's no reason for this second camera. Anyway, we're just checking sync. You get to be a scientist or a raptor. You basically have a deck of 9 cards. You play that card. Whoever has the highest card, who has the lower card gets the power that's connected to the card. Or if you have the higher number, you get action points. Essentially, the scientists are trying to trap the little babies, and the dinosaurs are trying to kill the scientists. It's very, very fun. You never know who's going to win until somebody does. Sometimes the game could be short. Sometimes it can be long. It's like checkers or chess, but good. The problem with checkers or chess is there's no story. Raptors, you feel like a dinosaur or a scientist. Very exciting. Dead Grandmas. Also, a new game that we've been playing, 7 Wonders Duel. That's a fun one. Who doesn't like dueling? 7 Wonders Duel is obviously, I think, the most complicated of the bunch, but has been very fun. And last but certainly not least, this game, Paris, La Cité de la Lumière. Oh, that's fun. It's a really pretty game. That's why we have this camera, which can zoom. Can it focus? It can focus. This is very exciting. Okay, so Paris, this game is very beautiful and is partially magic themed. This is the only part of the game that is related to magic. But you build the city on this board. You build the city like you put these tiles. Then you have to play these tiles. Then you have superpowers. Imagine if Tetris went to France, got an art degree, and also more rules. It's very fun. It's actually, I would actually say that this game is essentially Patchwork, but more complicated and Paris. So if you like, I would start with Patchwork. And if you like Patchwork and you like Paris, go for it. But this game, I play this on the iPad and I'm a nationally ranked player. It's very sad. Anyway, Corinne Fisher is in the house. Cute shirt, never seen you in a pattern before. This is a new quarantine thing that I'm doing, is the patterns. I have more than one pattern shirt now. I like them. I'm that guy that I don't even care what the pattern is per se. I just like it. I just like the stuff going on. And this happens to be fun animals from Africa. It's a safari. So thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Ben Nemzer. How you doing? This is great. I should just have a Zoom call where I have an actual conversation with my friends. But right now, I'm just live streaming. Madeline Bowman said, this is a far less depressing conversation than when I asked you about one-player games back in May. Yay for having friends back for games. Yeah, wear a mask. I second that. Great shirt. Well, thank you very much. I have this exact shirt in white. I already bought it in a second color. So you'll see it again. There are good one-player board games. They exist. I played them, and sometimes I feel sad because you're setting up a whole board game for yourself, and no one knows you've won. You've defeated a game, and the game doesn't know. The game isn't happy when you when it wins and it doesn't know it beat you. And that did define a good chunk of me being single. Anyway, you need the same shirt but with dinosaurs like an adult. I agree. If the shirt was available in dinosaurs, I would buy it in a heartbeat. I would love that, Eric Dillman. So far, a bunch of my best friends are watching this. We should just have a Zoom call later and play games with each other. This is the saddest way to converse, but I'll take it. I'll take all the shirt compliments. The main reason for this, to be honest, was to make sure my camera works. Did that sync? I have no idea. We'll find out later. Very exciting. Yeah, I didn't end up reaching that level of sad, even though I did ask you. Okay, good. Some of these two-player games have apps. I believe Seven Wonders Duel has an app. I know Star Realms has an app, and you play an online player, so it's really fun. It's also very weird because I almost wish they showed you the age of the player, because this way, if you beat somebody but they're like a child, you don't feel great, and if you lose to a child, you feel extra bad. I feel like that should be there. I play games like Forbidden Island as a one-player game. Even when other people are playing, it's too easy to quarterback other players. That is a big issue with my favorite co-op games. Like Pandemic is great, but if somebody's a new player and you're an experienced Pandemic player, there's a temptation to basically just play as all three players. Pandemic, also available in an app form, and you can play any co-op game alone. You just have to play all the players. And it's only sad if you do different voices for each of them. Did I ever do that? No, thank God. There are games like Escape Curse of the Temple, which is like a real-time game, a real-time co-op, as is Fuse. Man, if you thought I was cool and then you saw this, now you don't feel that way. We got lighting now. That's fun. Fancy lighting. But yeah, I had that experience at Oculus and didn't realize I was talking to kids. Oh my God, I have an Oculus. First of all, friend me on the Oculus. There's a game called Echo VR, and it's basically Ender's Game for those who know sci-fi. And you throw a frisbee, it's like soccer but zero gravity with frisbees. Does that make sense? No, but it's great. You're flying through the air. But most of the people playing are children, and they have their microphones on. And I feel weird. I like the game. I don't know if I like playing with children. I don't think that's good. I wish one kid, I could hear him. He hurt himself. I heard him hit. He goes, "Oh no!" You heard a very high pitch. "Oh no! I broke my controller." And you heard it. And then also, I heard somebody fighting with their sister. There was clearly a brother and a sister fighting over who would get to play. And I'll tell you, happy ending. They resolved it like good kids. One person called for a parent. I don't think the parent came. They resolved it. So that's nice. I felt so weird. Okay, I'll find you. Yeah, if we're Facebook friends, which we are, it's very easy to find me on Oculus. I will duel you. The camera looks good. Thank you, sir. I've been playing with the delay. I can show you some fancy things. Now it's just a weird crotch cam. We can switch it. This is just the fancy cam. And now here is the coup de grace, which is French for coup de grace. Can you tell that I've been filming a sketch all day? This is the other thing that I'm preparing for. So on Sunday, I am participating in Unconventional.fun. That's the name of it, Unconventional.fun. It's a full-day convention. It's also an 8-bit video game. You walk around in 8-bit. It's pretty exciting. So I'm going to be giving a lecture, and I want to test if I can give a cool PowerPoint lecture. Let's see what that looks like. I can do it. Check that out. Obviously, I will be a little bit smaller, but this will actually be a little bit of a delay. So I will fix that. Check this out. I'm getting much better at this now. So this actually should be full speed. This should look good. This should clap together and be good, hopefully. And then we have this version where you can see this. I don't know why I would need this, but I have it now. Huh? Did that work? I hope so. We'll find out. And so yeah, that's what we're playing with right now. You can do your own sign language interpreter where you play both parts. Absolutely, I could. It really does look like that old sketch where it's the hearing impaired on SNL where they just yell it. Because sketches are funny when you poorly describe them. People are messaging. I don't think this is on Instagram. Oh, very good. Very good. Also, if we're talking about my schedule, go to harrisongreenbaum.com or follow me at Harrison Comedy. But I have 3 shows on Friday. 3 shows. 2 of them are roofs. 1 of them is a park. All of them outdoors. I'm going to get to wear a coat. I like a good coat. I do. I like a good coat. I will perform in a goddamn snowstorm if I have to, because that's how I feel about stand-up. If you would like to be a surprise guest on this show, the show is only going to go about 10 minutes more. But if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just go to this link. Just type that into your old browser. I know it's a lot. I'll leave it up there for a little bit. But if you type that in, I can even put that into the comments if that will make it easier for you guys. But if you type that in, you can be a surprise guest. I don't care who you are. Let's have fun. Let's talk to each other. We can do it. That's all you got to do. You plug that in. You're going to pop into my virtual green room. I will pop you into this feed as long as you are not a weird stranger without clothes. That's never happened before. So, yeah, check that out. Heidi, who is, I believe, in Arizona, saying, come to Arizona. I would love to. Adam Parisi, why don't you be a guest? Come on. Get in there, Adam. You can do it. I'm gonna put the link in the thing. I know Adam knows how to use StreamYard. I know he does. Here we go. I just popped it into both the YouTube and the official fan page, which is facebook.com/Harrison Greenbaum. If you're watching on my personal page, you don't actually get to see it. But look, now it looks like it's coming from me twice. So exciting. But Adam Parisi, if you'd like to be a member, if you'd like to be a guest, come join. My girlfriend's taking a nap. Am I being loud? Yes. Is she able to take that nap? I hope so. I hope so. So that's the link. We have about, I would say, till 10:40, 10:45 for this very just fun, easy, simple Coronacast. We showed some board games. We showed off a fancy cam. We can do all sorts of fancy things. I don't know why we went straight for that, but we could show all the fancy things. That's exciting. And but if I was showing this in real life, I would probably be tinier. But check that out. I mean, if you come to see unconventional.fun, this will be a presentation. It'll probably just say, you were all terrible. That's what it'll say. But yeah, so that's what we're working with. Comments, congrats on your Biden fundraising. Oh, let's talk about that. I am hosting. I'm very proud. This is an official national campaign event. This is an official Biden event. It's going out. If you're a member of if you're on the email list for Biden stuff, you're going to get an email about it. I am hosting a great event. I think it's got to be 75 minutes total. So it's a tight event. And we have magicians from different swing states. Coach Kimlat, who's down in Florida. We have Francis Minotti and Lindsay Noel. They are in Pennsylvania. That's a swing state. You got Ben Seidemann. He's in Wisconsin. That's a swing state. So that's pretty exciting. We have 2 congressmen. One of them does magic. That's true. One of them does magic. He's going to do magic on it. We have a congressman doing magic. It's very exciting. We have, I doubt you'll remember this, but when we exchanged info at the Chang Theater, because you were wearing a striped shirt. Well, I know you, Mike Brown. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe and well. And now you'd have to list me as Giraffe. There you go. I don't have that many striped shirts. I like just wearing. I'm definitely. You're a New Yorker when you look at your closet and it's mostly whites, grays, and blacks. When it's mostly just monochromatic, which is this is considered a color. This is olive. This is as colorful as I often get. Hashtag fun fact. I love any hashtag fun fact. So I'm going to put that up one more time. There you go. StreamYard.com/C877N2J7ZU. If you'd like to be a guest. Otherwise, I'm popping on the old Facebook. Yeah, that's right. I said it. I'm popping on the old Facebook itself. I'm going to start messaging people, and they're going to be very surprised. Guests, they don't even know I'm doing a show. Let's see who's available. Carol Hendricks approves of that shirt. She loves animals. There are animals on my shirt. There you go. This is what I do for you people. I will personalize my outfits for everybody in this audience if I have to. I will. I'm on Facebook, and let's see who is online, because I'm coming at you. If you want to be in this show, you can. It's very hard to get on a lot of the other shows, but this one, no standards. That's right, none. But yeah, we're gonna give it about, let's go to 10:45. But if you'd like to be a guest on this show, let's do it. Ooh, hopefully that clap was synced up. Did I spend hours today figuring out the exact frame lag depending on processor load? You betcha. How does this guest thing work? Well, Mike Brown, I am so glad you asked. Mike Brown, I'm going to send you a link. Yes, you. I'm going to send you a link. You just click on that link. As long as you're in Chrome or Firefox, you can be a guest. This will be exciting. Mike Brown, a comedy person who I haven't spoken to in a while. Very nice fella. We like Mike Brown. He's an improviser at Beer Prov, which I'm going to be honest, I think drinking beer and improv probably redundant. I think that's built in, but we'll find out right now. Here we go. I've sent you a link, Mike Brown. You just click on it and you're in there, baby. Do the lights on the bars. Oh, do the lights. Alexa, change hue light strip to blue. Hey! That's also took a very long time to set up. Alexa, show lights. It knows I like them pink. There you go. All right. This is very exciting. So let's see if Mike Brown comes in. But we have about 6 minutes. 6 minutes. That's all we got. This is a quickie. So, yeah, Coronacast, I think we're actually past episode 20, if we're being honest here. I think we're in episode 20. But who knows? Oh, there we go.
Is it working?
Oh, sir.
Am I here?
You're in.
How's it going?
How are you doing?
You know, life is good, Harrison. It's been a long time since we've chit-chatted. Long time.
You know what? In the time since we first met, you have an incredible Funko Pop collection.
Well, thank you. It's taken quite a few years to amass such a feat. So yeah, there you go.
The OCD in me is a little disturbed that I think there's a Bebop and no Rocksteady, or did I get that reversed?
Well, yeah, there was this particular statue, this particular piece I found out. I don't know if you remember, are you still living in the city?
I am. This is the same apartment when you met me.
Oh,
I've only lived in one apartment.
Wow.
I need to move real soon.
I just left my apartment. You remember Josh Hurley?
Yes. Yeah. I love Josh.
Yeah. We were roommates for 13 years.
By the way, Jeff Gordon says great glasses, and I agree.
Oh, shucks. Thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah. No Rocksteady. Just be above. I got this at the comic book store down on South Street. Not South Street. That's in Philadelphia. St. Mark's. Down on St. Mark's. That closed like 2 years ago. Yeah, they had like this incredible deal. So yeah, there it is.
Nice. And is that an IKEA Colax?
An IKEA what?
Oh, so there's a thing called a Colax, which Eric Dillman is watching. He knows about them. If you're a board game person, it's the one set of shelving that looks kind of like that, where you can just have stacks of board games in it.
Gotcha. No, at first I thought you were asking about like if I have like bleeding problems, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I usually take care of that at the drugstore.
Prolapse.
Yes. No, it is not. But I do have. I'm just showing off my toy collection now at this point. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and answer me honestly. When you bring a partner, somebody back to your place, do they like it? Have their actions been favorable?
So this is my YouTube studio that I'm in right now. I saw you were doing this thing on the Facebook Lives, and I was like, hey, sure, let's jump in. Let's see what's happening. So I'm in my YouTube studio right now, but it also doubles as my girlfriend's office. So her office is in that corner. This is my side of the office. Yeah. So
you can afford an office. You have a room that doesn't have a bed in it.
It's crazy. It's a 2-bedroom. Yeah. So I was saying, I just left my apartment with Josh, and we moved in here, into this place in Harlem, and it's a 2-bedroom. We have a terrace.
What?
I know. This place is nuts. It's crazy. It's fun.
It's insane. I'm trying to buy an apartment, and I made the mistake of taking the budget that I've set aside for my apartment and looking up any other place in the world to see what it would get me. And it turns out more than one house.
Yeah. No, I told my cousin what we pay in rent here, and my cousin lives in the middle of Nowheresville, Wyoming. I think it's a town of 500 people. I told him what our rent is, and he's like, his jaw just dropped the floor. He picked what he thought was like a pretty high rent, and it was like, yeah, no, like triple that.
You're like, your rent would pay for all 500 of those people to be housed.
Yeah. We would pay for
a beer prov. I saw that in your Facebook thing. I don't know if I knew about your beer prov.
Yeah. So if anyone's not familiar with beer prov, it is a short form improv comedy on cruise ships. So last October and November, I went to go work for beer prov, and there it is. I see it popping up right there. Yeah. Oh, you're a pal. What is Gowie, the 5-year-old talk show host?
I did not type that. Somebody used your computer and was Gowie, the 5-year-old talk show host.
I should edit my name. I was doing a show for like a Reno improv thing. Hold on, what's my name? What is my name? I don't remember. There we go. I was doing this improv thing for like a Reno improv show, and so I was playing the character of Gowie, the 5-year-old talk show host.
Nice.
But worked for beer prov for a few months, and then coronavirus hit, and all the cruise ships just came to a screeching halt. So, but it was good. Yeah,
for comedy of any kind has really diminished.
Live theater has tanked so hard. I mean, like rightfully so. Harrison, you're a stand-up comedian. You make the rounds. I mean, you're on tour the better part of every year. So like this has affected you so harshly. I can only imagine how Corona. I feel like I'm interviewing you now. Let's interview you on your own show.
Usually on Wednesdays is my show. Who Books That? Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. And I have to prepare for days, if not weeks, to interview somebody. And it's nice once in a while to get lobbed a question. It feels very nice.
Yeah. So, so what I want to know is how has because you're still doing like virtual shows, right? You're still doing like online stuff, not performing in front of the actual audience. How has that changed your performance style?
I have noticed. So I've been starting to perform live for people because you can do these great socially distanced shows that are like in parking lots, drive-in shows, parks, rooftops, where you're like 10 feet away from the nearest human being and they're super far away from each other and you're outside. So it works. And I had the same question. Will my rhythm have been altered? And I do think, because I noticed it in Seth Meyers, he's waiting for laughter less. So now I used to pause for the laugh that a live audience would give me, and I've slowly chipped at that. So I have to give that back to myself when I'm doing live.
It's kind of a John Cleese Fawlty Towers thing, because I know when he was in the process of writing Fawlty Towers, one of his whole things is that you're wasting so much time waiting for the laugh. Like, it's a sitcom, like we all get it, but when you tell the joke and now you have to wait for the laugh to end, that's like 5 seconds of laughter that you could be telling another joke. And so his whole thing was that, like, just keep going. Don't wait for laughter. Just keep doubling. Like, if you have to double down on the joke, do that. Or if you're going to change what you're doing, just go into the next thing that you were going to do so it advances the story or heightens the joke. So I thought that was a brilliant thing on John Cleese's behalf.
Oh, look, we have Chris O'Neill in the house saying you two are damn sexy.
Chris O'Neill, you never respond to any of my texts. I'm going to call you out.
No, drama.
I'm calling him out on the carpet. Respond.
Chris O'Neill, if you would like to join us.
And you want to jump on the show. Jump on the show and defend yourself. I want to hear this. Out of the horse's mouth.
Right now. I have that power.
Let's do it. I want to have a knockdown, drag out fight with Chris O'Neill right now.
I can't imagine ever fighting with such a lovely person.
He's the sweetest human being on the planet.
So kind. It would be like arguing with ice cream. How could you argue with ice cream?
Or like a teddy bear.
You
A
can't.
teddy bear eating ice cream. You don't want to shout at that. I don't know. I feel like picking
when
a
you
fight.
talk about unhealthy foods, they're like, cut all the meat out of your diet. Cut that pizza out. Nobody's like ice cream because you can't. It's too nice.
Have you had vegan ice cream?
I was vegan for a hot second.
How did that work for you?
Oh, he said on floor waiting for my daughter to fall asleep. That's fair. You don't want to make it up. That's how Mike gets his revenge. Is we bring him on the show and then you just scream as loudly as
I know,
can.
right?
You whisper first, so he turns the volume up, and then you just scream as loud as possible.
Chris, apologies. I love you to death, sir. So that was like that whole you're not texting me back. A, that's true, but also B, total jest. Total jest. Total jest. I love you, sir. You're the best.
I want to see a Chris and Paul show online. I want to see virtual Chris and Paul. I think that could be very cool.
Are they not doing it?
I haven't seen that much yet. Or if they are, this is now an advertisement. Go to Google Chris and Paul show, like I'm doing right now, so that I know.
ChrisandPaulShow.com, I think, isn't it?
Is there a dot? It's ChrisandPaulShow.com. That's super easy.
Ta-da!
ChrisandPaulShow.com. Do I know how to use this program? Indeed.
Boom! Right. How's it? There.
There it is. Everything is backwards on this program.
Yeah. I've with my.
Oh my God! Oh, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen so much that he took 3 letters out of going.
It's gonna happen.
Or 2 letters. Math is hard.
Well, it depends on which spelling. If you're going with going, then it's a completely different spelling altogether.
That is fair.
It's gone.
What are you doing for a job now? Is the YouTube the job?
I'm making it my job with all of my 5 followers on the YouTubes.
Well, let's get some people there. How do they find you on the YouTube?
It's Gotta Love Them Movies. GOTTA. Love Them Movies. Gotta love them movies. Yeah, that's all. Like every day, Monday through Friday. I'm currently on break. I'm back next Friday. My girlfriend's mom.
How this show happened is that I remember I read an article. I think it was in the LA Times. I'm sure it was only one of a few articles I read that month because when you click on an article, if there's a paywall, you're kind of like, I didn't need to read it that much.
Get the highlights. Get the highlights.
Yeah, exactly. So I managed to sneak that one in without the paywall. And it was all about how when the quarantine started, like in March, everybody's like, you know what? For 6 to 8 weeks, I'm going to stream nonstop. And then when this pandemic thing blows over in 2 months, tops, I'll go back maybe with a bigger social media following. And so I went hard. I was streaming every single day. And I remember reading that article and they were like, yeah, people are burning out. And it's like, yeah, we thought this was going to be 8 weeks. You can't stream every single day for 6 months.
It's hard. It's hard. Like it's the dedication. You remember the pooping unicorn video that's like advertising the Squatty Potty? Do you remember that? It was like this huge vibe.
Absolutely.
So a buddy of mine from like a former life, he and his brothers created they're the brains behind that ad, behind that commercial, and they've gone on to create their own company called Harmon Brothers, and they're like this huge marketing YouTube thing. They have gone on to teach multiple seminars as to how to market yourself on YouTube, and that's the biggest one. Do regular content, do it daily, and it's the longevity. You have to put in the hours. You can't just do it for a month. You have to do it for a year. Like you have to do it for a year. Somebody once said, if you want to get into audiobooks, if you want to read audiobooks, jump in the closet with any book, doesn't matter what it is, and read out loud to yourself for 6 hours a day. And if you can do that for a month, you can be an audiobook narrator. Just put in the practice. And it's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah, I mean, stand-up, I think it's with every art form. Stand-up, it's always funny because I'll go out for coffee with a new comic. They'll email me, and I'm always happy to try to help a young comic. And they'll be like, what advice do you have? And I tell them, I go, you're not going to like the advice because there's no shortcut. The only advice I can really give you is, I can give you 2 pieces of advice. One is get paid up front. Other than that, because once you've done the show, you don't have any leverage. But the second thing is you got to get on stage as much as possible. There's literally no shortcut. That's it. The only way to get better is to just do it over and over and over again. And even then, you can't really rush it. Like when I got started, I thought, oh, if doing a show once a night, every single night without a break will get you famous in 10 years. Then if you do 2 shows a night every night without a break, you're famous in 5 years. And it's really more about both getting on stage and being a person, learning who you are as a person. And you can't rush that. So you can't shortcut that.
Did you ever read Steve Martin's book, his autobiography, Born Standing Up? Oh,
yeah. I read it multiple times. It's my benchmark book because every once in a while you reread it and something else in the book resonates. Like when I was in a little tiny comedy club, nothing about performing at big theaters was personally resonant to me. And then I went on these tours where I was performing at places like the Sydney Opera House. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I totally get what those parts of the book mean now.
One of the biggest things that stuck out to me was, I think it's towards the beginning. I feel like you've read it more than I have, so you could tell me where in the book it is. But the whole idea of like, he did stand-up comedy for 18 years. The first 10 years, he was learning how to do it. The next 4 years, he was refining his act. And the last 4 years, he was just living the dream. And I feel like that is an adequate kind of gauge for where we should all be, right? You're going to spend an entire decade, if not more, learning your craft. What is it? How does it work? And it all depends on how often and how frequently you can get up on stage. Same thing with YouTube. Doesn't matter what the medium is, or if you want to be a painter, go off and paint your best Rembrandt, but do it frequently and do it often, because that's how you're going to learn. And then once you've done it enough, the whole concept of 10,000 hours is literally 10,000 hours. When I first started doing improv, everybody started talking like, oh, 10,000 hours. I thought it was this nebulous concept of, oh, maybe you'll kind of be doing some, some improv here and there. And I was that cocky kid who was cast in, this, what I thought to be like this big improv show in Times Square every Friday night at a major comedy club. And I'm thinking, I've never done this before. I've never taken a class. I'm going to do this improv thing for a year, and then I'm going to go off and do my film career. That was 14 years ago?
Oh, well, you need that, though. I think, I think no one would get into any of these industries if they actually knew how hard it was. So you need that cockiness, that confidence. I think every stand-up comedian, I know I walked into it like, oh, 2 years I'm Seinfeld. Maybe 2 years. I got this.
Yeah.
And then it's what I call the reverse confidence bell curve. So you start off really confident. And then like a year or two in, you go, oh my God, I have so much longer. And then it takes you like 10 to 15 years to come back to the confidence you had in your first 2 years.
Speaking of Born Standing Up, your head just moved. I saw Steve Martin on the wall right behind you.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. That's the cover to the book.
Yeah, this wall has evolved. Cosby used to be on it, and then I had to take him off. But
Cosby's such an interesting thing. I see Dare to Be Stupid.
So that was my latest 2 editions, because there used to be a blank space for a while, but that's 2,000-Year-Old Man with Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks, my biggest influence. And then Weird Al, I wore out those cassettes. Yeah. Joan Rivers, my spirit animal.
Glorious.
And then Steve Martin, who started out as a magician at Disneyland.
Yeah.
He has a big magic connection. And then you can't go wrong with Richard Pryor and George Carlin.
No.
And when it comes to current events, I mean, Lenny Bruce paved the way for everybody. And Mort Saul doesn't get enough credit.
He doesn't. No, he certainly doesn't.
I read I think it was Jason Zinnemann in the Times. He had a tweet that was, if Lenny Bruce had lived and Mort Saul had died, the legendary status would have reversed. Because people think of Lenny Bruce and they're like, oh my God. Mort Saul was also amazing. He then got obsessed with like the JFK stuff. But I saw him within the last, I think it was 5 years. Woody Allen was at the show because Woody Allen was influenced to do stand-up by Mort. He was in the audience there, which is crazy. But Mort was still doing it. He came in with the sweater, the newspaper, still writing jokes about what was happening, like still political current events. Amazing.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Who have you performed in front of that you were the most nervous to, like in terms of like celebrity status or even just on a personal level? Both.
Oh, I hate performing in front of my parents or even my family. I mean, anytime I have a really big show that they're at, I always have to tell the box office, I know you want to give them the best seats because they're my parents, but you need to hide them. You need to put them in. They can't be lit. They need to be far enough back that I can't see them.
What's the most embarrassing joke you've told in front of your parents on stage?
I've told all of them. I have this weird sense, like I have this weird joke ethics. If you can't do the joke in front of the person who least should hear it, then you shouldn't do it. Like if you're going to make a joke about deaf people and then you have a deaf person in the audience, you're like, oh, I'm going to take that joke out of my act. Then you shouldn't, if you don't have the balls to do that joke in front of a deaf person, then it probably shouldn't be said in front of a not deaf person.
That's what I love about Gilbert Gottfried. He is not afraid to go there. And like, hey, sometimes he crosses the line and I don't know, like I kind of feel like that's okay. Like he crosses some really, really hard to navigate water lines. And like he doubles down on it. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what his audience is. But I also contend that the way he it's not just crossing the line. It's the way you cross the line. You have to set things up in a way that provides enough context so that, yes, people are still going to be offended, and that's okay. But to Ricky Gervais's point, you're allowed to be offended. It doesn't mean that you're right, but you're allowed to be offended by whatever it is you want.
You have the right to be offended. You don't. Yeah. I think sometimes you don't really have the right. Like your job, if you don't like it, is to leave and then maybe not support that comic financially. But
yeah,
when you go, I need to also take his job. That gets a little bit. That's where it gets dicey. Not to say that there aren't people who should definitely be canceled. But you did mention Gilbert Gottfried, who, by the way, has been, his jokes have cost him. I interviewed him, nationalcomedycenter.com. There's a plug. We had an amazing interview with surprise guest Penn Jillette. One of my favorite interviews I've done all during quarantine, if not my whole life. Incredible. But I noticed in his biography that in 91, he got in trouble at the Emmys and then was disinvited from ever attending again.
What happened at the Emmys?
At the Emmys, he did a whole bunch of jokes about Paul Rubens. I see you have Pee Wee Herman behind you, so that's perfect.
Of course, yep.
Pee Wee Herman obviously got arrested for
indecent exposure.
Yeah. So that was the topic du jour, and Gilbert went after him, just joke after joke. They were very funny. You can find it because it aired on the East Coast, just not on the West Coast. So you can find those jokes. Gilbert is always amazing. That was 91. 2001, September 11th. And then 2011 was the tsunami when he got fired from Affleck for making the tsunami joke. So right. I was like, 2021 is just around the corner. And like clockwork, every 10 years, there's a Gilbert story.
Well,
what could he be doing? What could he be cooking up for 2021? I think there's lots of opportunity.
Oh, there's so much. Did you see the documentary that they did on Gilbert Gottfried's
life?
Life?
It's called Gilbert. It's on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, as soon as this is over, watch it. It's fantastic. So freaking good. There's a part with Nazis that killed me.
It's so sad and depressing to see how his life has been affected negatively in the wake of his tsunami comments. Like it really has been affected, but it is also very hopeful. It's also very hopeful to see like he's not the kind of person to take the stuff lying down. Like he takes it on the chin. Okay, I did something that people don't like. I tried to apologize. Didn't go over well. Let's just keep barreling on. And that's what he does. He keeps going.
I mean, Gilbert is just one of my favorite comics of all time. I think he's going to go down on like the Mount Rushmore of comedy, of like just one of the all-time greats. And I asked him during the interview about, do you believe in there being a line? And he talked about comedy and tragedy being roommates. They're right next door to each other. So that's, South Park made a joke. I think it takes 22.3 days, I think, before something is funny again, or 22.3 weeks before it's funny again. And so my joke with Gilbert was, I think you're 22.3 seconds.
Wow.
And it's, wow. I mean, it's comedy at its best. It's brave. Comedy is supposed to take the sting out of, you're supposed to be able to look at the most horrible events and make jokes about them. That's what comedy is for. And if anybody embodied that core tenet of comedy better, it's Gilbert Gottfried, who every time I see him too, it's just like one of those guys. that's another thing that separates the great from the greats.
Mm.
Every time you see them, there's something new to see, or just something interesting. They're never on autopilot. David Tell is the same way. Every time he's on stage, every comic rushes down, or it used to before the pandemic when you could rush into a crowded basement. But every comic would rush down to see Attell because you knew something magical was going to happen, because he's just so brilliant and so fast on his feet, and he's always writing jokes, and it's always a surprising take.
Now, going back to, again, this is my interview style. Going back to the time
Jeffrey Allen just said, this has turned into a great discussion. I stayed.
As it should. Anytime you're talking comedy, like this is any nerd podcast, like extraordinaire. You just like go down the little rabbit hole. Like, what is it that we're talking about here? But I remember back when we met, you were still burgeoning in stand-up comedy. I was just getting my start in solo improv, which is, if you haven't done solo improv, it is terrifying. And I was going to say
that at least most improv, at least there's somebody else who can there can be a discussion. There's somebody else to carry the weight. Solo improv is just a monologue with no pauses.
It's possible. It's possible you were at my worst show ever. It's quite possible. It was at the Tank. Chris and Paul Chris and Paul went on after me, which I felt so bad for them because I stunk up the room so bad. It was a 20-minute or 25-minute set. I went up to Chris Jules Booth. I went up to Chris Jules Booth.
Yes.
And I was hey,
that group, City Hall, also used to,
genius.
Brilliant stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jesus
Tater
Christ Tater Tots. That's when people ask me for examples. I'm currently working on something where I just love the idea of something where the idea itself is so insane that just the completion of the task is sometimes like that would be enough. And then they also executed it perfectly. But just the balls to do Jesus Christ Tater Tot, which if you haven't seen it, was a full-on production of Jesus Christ Superstar, in which all of the characters were played by puppets that were made of potatoes. All the lines were switched to potato references. It was great.
It's on YouTube, isn't it? Did they post the whole show on YouTube?
I don't know if they posted it publicly. I have a private link. I was like, this is one of my favorite. Even Chris and Paul, their CD is fantastic. Chris and Paul read The Great Gatsby. They're reading it to themselves.
I haven't seen that one.
I bought it. It's one of my favorite, one of my prized possessions. You just hear them turning pages going, that's good. It's brilliant. It's so good. It's so good.
Classic Chris and Paul. Well, even going back, like what you were talking about with Gilbert Gottfried, Chris and Paul, like their brand of comedy it's how do you say, it's palatable and it's tasty to everybody, but it's also dangerous. It's dangerous in the way that if this does not land, like if this joke doesn't land, one of my favorite bits is Chris sitting down the whoopee cushion for Paul, and then Paul comes and he's just like all this anticipation, and Paul's running around the room like shh, don't tell anybody. I don't know how much Chris wants me to tell of how far this joke goes, but that sketch in and of itself is dangerous, because if the audience doesn't have the intended reaction that they need to make this joke work, the whole thing falls apart. Same thing with the cookies. Like, if the audience is not going to be on board with a human being in a cookie costume, like doing the sexy dance, pouring milk all over themselves, if they're not on board with that, then it's just like anything else. How this is, can we swear on the show? Is this a swearing friendly? Okay. So whenever in all of my classes, everything I always tell my students is commit the shit out of your bit. You're not going to go anywhere by trying to play it cool. Wait, say it what?
You commit to a bit, but then you hear the audience and you realize this is not a bit the audience is enjoying. You might at that point just get to the next scene.
It's true, but it also depends on like how far you
Yeah.
want it to go. Like, what kind of a comedian are you? Are you a Gilbert Gottfried? Are you just going to keep hounding on this point until it, like, 22 minutes later becomes funny again? Like, is that your style? What is it you're going to do?
So that's like this blew my mind. So Mike Reese, who wrote a crazy book on being a writer for The Simpsons. He's also co-executive producer of The Simpsons season 4, which is arguably maybe the best season of Simpsons, maybe one of the best seasons of a comedy ever. All the classic episodes are in that season. But one of the things that comes from The Simpsons is a rake bit. And I have to be very careful. It's a rake with a K. I once explained that at a class and somebody thought I was saying something similar to rake, but not the word rake. And I was like, it's a rake bit.
Well, the other bit, it depends on who your audience is.
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion. But a rake bit is a classic comedy form in which you repeat something over and over again. And it's exactly like the reverse confidence bell curve. It's funny, and then it gets less funny because you're doing it over and over again. But then you do it so many times that it becomes ridiculous and it starts getting funny again. There's a bit in The Simpsons where Sideshow Bob steps on a rake, hits him in the face, and he goes, "Bleh." Then he steps on another rake, and he goes, "Bleh." Then he steps on another rake, "Bleh." And he does it over and over and over again. And I always thought these guys are geniuses to know exactly how many rakes to do. And it turns out that their episode was short on time when they submitted it. So they called the animation department and said, loop the rake bit a second time. So they kind of accidentally stumbled upon the formula. But the scariest thing to do about a rake bit, the reason it's so dangerous is when you're in that dip, sometimes you don't come out of it. So you have to commit at that point and hope that curve is going to start to come back up.
Well, what you're talking about is the rule of threes. That's all it is. It's the rule of threes, whether it's you're doing the long play or whether it's a multiplier of that. So like you could do the rule of threes, but multiply it by 3. Now you're doing the rule of 9s essentially. And it's because like anytime you do,
that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Like 1, 2, 3, like 3 is always going to be higher than 1, unless you're talking about Ocean's 13. That did not hit very well. But like anytime you keep hitting down, sorry, I tried to push that. Anytime you try to force a joke, it's not going to work. I forced a joke and it didn't work, so I just barreled past it.
There's got to be some joke about jokes that are like farts. If you force it, you're gonna end up with shit on your hands.
Or Ocean's 13, one of the two. I'm just gonna keep.
I think if they go to Ocean's 14, maybe all of the movies are one massive rake bit, and then by the time they get to Ocean's 15, it's gonna be hilarious again.
Well, we have to get to Ocean's 9 before we can get to Ocean's 10, right? Right? I need that completion. What's Awkwafina's storyline? How does that finish off? I need to know.
I mean, have you seen Kristen Schaal as a horse?
No.
It's Kristen Schaal and Kurt Braunohler. Kristen Schaal, Andy Kaufman Award winner. Obviously super funny. The whole bit is she is dancing in a circle, like she's riding like one of those ponies on a stick. And Kurt Braunohler is just going, Kristen Schaal is a horse. Kristen Schaal is a horse. Look at her go. Look at her go. Kristen Schaal is a horse. And he does it over and over again. And it's, when I saw it, I think it had been filmed, and I might be ruining the song. I think it might have been slightly different wording, but I think it was at Just for Laughs, which if you're not a comedian, it's the biggest comedy festival. It's the biggest career break that you could possibly have, is to be at Just for Laughs. And so it makes it funnier because he's using all of his time to sing this song. So it stops being funny because you're like, why is he still doing it? And the longer that bit goes, the more I just couldn't stop laughing. And it all of a sudden it comes out of that dip, and it's so funny.
Like I said, like the third laugh is always going to be the best. Always going to be the best. Or again, multiply. The 9th laugh is always going to be the best because it has to ebb and flow. It has to ebb and flow. Like, again, I don't know why I keep going back to Chris and Paul. Like Chris and Paul is like, it's on my mind right now.
They're great. They're very mathematical. Them, Key and Peele, when you have a really good sketch cut down to just the bare minimum, where it's like as tight as it can be, there's like a golden ratio math, just like a very good joke. They'll map onto each other, and there's a math to that rhythm.
Well, like one of the last video sketches that they put out on their YouTube channel, this was quite a few years ago. It was the premise was something like, maybe you remember this. You could probably help me out with it. It was like, Paul has a gun to Chris's head. Pay me the money. Pay me the money. Okay, the money's out in my car. Let me just go get it. Okay, well, you better be back here in 30 seconds. And it's just a one shot. It's a one shot of Paul standing in the kitchen with his gun, waiting around for Chris to come back. And he just never comes back. And it's the longer it goes, the funnier it gets. He's not saying anything. He's not doing anything. He's just waiting. He's just waiting. He's just standing there. And it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. It's genius.
We actually have a question for you from Jim. Let's see if I can find it. I know it's here. There we go. Jim says, how does solo improv work? Is it long or short form? I can tell you if it goes wrong, it always feels long.
Oh, it's rough. Yeah, I got my start in solo improv as a result of people not inviting me to be part of their own improv shows. And I was like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to go off and do my own. Nick Carrillo actually dared me to do solo improv at a jam once. I'm like, all right, sure. Why not? So
I think I was at that show because I think when they described, I might have even been hosting, and I feel like I made a joke about solo improv because I was like, I have no idea how this is going to go. This could either be insanely good or he is going to die the death.
Oh, I've done both. That's the fun of the tightrope. It wasn't my worst show, but it was one of my worst shows. I bombed right in front of Emo Phillips. He came out to see, he was like, what's this solo improv thing happening?
Yeah, it's intriguing.
Say what?
It's intriguing. If I was looking at a festival lineup and I saw solo improv, I was like, I got to see it.
Yeah, he came out to see my show and it was so bad. Oh my God. I think I was like humping the stage at one point. The whole thing. It was this whole, it was awful. So, okay. So who was this? Jim?
And Mike Lawrence. He's a fantastic comedian, great joke writer, huge comic book guy. If you have a comic book question, Mike Lawrence, or need a comic book opinion, Mike will have one. But Mike had a great joke about going to an improv show and they go, what's your, we need a suggestion. It's a graduation show. So it's all the parents in the audience. And Mike tells it way better than I would possibly tell it. But the joke is, can I get a suggestion? And one of the parents is, go to law school. That's the perfect improv joke right there.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And, black the lights out, bring the lights back up, start the show over again, pretend nothing ever happened.
And this is not to be a name droppy story, but I was a starting out comic and a friend of a friend knew Lewis Black. So they're like, we're gonna let you meet Lewis Black. Like, just come, you'll be able to meet him afterwards. So we're at a bar afterwards. I'm like losing my mind because I'm like, holy crap, I'm hanging out with Lewis Black. And he asked me what I was up to. And I was so proud because my biggest accomplishment at that point was I was like the captain of the improv team at Gotham Comedy Club. And I was also doing, obviously, more stand-up than that, but I was like, I'm doing this stand-up, and I'm the captain. And he had this look where he's like, we were talking about improv versus stand-up, and he's like, a stand-up cares enough about their audience to practice, to do it, to make sure it works before they say it. And that always kind of stuck with me. I think improv is it can be very, very beautiful. But that image of like doing, I'm such an OCD person. I like to go on stage being like, I have honed this joke to within an inch of its life, and I think it's gonna work. But then again, there's all the improv too. Like
sometimes it doesn't.
Most fun moments in my own show is when I'm riffing. So it's I feel like there's a sharks. Do you feel like there's a sharks and jets kind of thing going on between improv and stand up?
Oh, there's always been sharks and jets going on between improv and stand up. It's been going on for years. Luis,
I think we said the word City Hall and like magic
manifested. We just manifested it. In fact,
if you would like to join us, by the way, I'll put up this banner. It's StreamYard.com. I know it's a long string. C877 and 2JZCU. Come join us. We're going to wrap this up pretty soon. But make sure if you want to join, this is your last chance to do it. So go for it.
In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I mispronounced Lewis's name. I think he goes by Lewis. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe so.
Yeah, so it's Lewis, not Luis.
Yes.
The spelling of that always just trips me up because I know it's Lewis, but it's looks elsewhere.
And we have Jeremy saying, got to see Bill Irwin, amazing, perform tonight. And now Harrison Greenman was on my screen. What a night. See, we did it. We did it. Making people's nights, talking about
Harrison Greenman on my screen.
This is fun. I need to do more of these. Coronacast is really fun. What's the stream? I want to chat with you. Here we go.
A regular thing? Yeah. Lewis, jump in. Oh, he's working.
Oh, he's at the bar. That's kind of fun though. All right, let's send one more link.
How often do you do this?
A lot of virtual shows. Sorry,
you do this every day? Is this an everyday thing?
At the beginning of quarantine, I was doing this every day, and then I started up Who Books That, Scam Online. I was doing my other virtual shows, like private shows for companies and the like. And I strayed away from the Coronacast, but I need to get back. Oh, look who's in! Jim, oh gosh, Jim, your microphone is a little bit wonky. Let's see. I'm gonna try to put you back in. Oh gosh, I'm gonna mute you for a second. Jim is in my apartment. I don't know how he got into my apartment, but he's broken into my apartment. It's very clear. Somehow this has happened. Jim, if you want to switch your microphone, I'm going to try to unmute it. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Yeah, I don't think your microphone is currently working. I'm getting a lot. Something is wrong with the mic. Oh! All right, I'm going to give you a second to try to fix the mic. I think it's unplugged.
It sounds like one of those like toys from the 1980s. It's like one of those microphone boom toy things that you speak into, and it just wow.
Everyone has that Home Alone one where you can. Oh, there we go.
The Talk Boy.
Yes. Jim, are you in?
I am.
Oh, that's much better. And you're in my apartment. And also,
toy things that you speak into.
Jeremy, how you doing? Everyone has that Home Alone one.
Oh, hold on.
There we go.
The Talk Boy.
What's up?
Somebody's back. Jim, make sure you set your audio to your headphones.
Oh, I do not have headphones to connect.
You're okay.
For
some reason, Jim's microphone setup is connected to Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone and plays you back as the adult version of yourself. How are you doing, Jeremy? We have a silent laugh track, though. I love it.
Is there a picture of Harrison behind Jim? Does anyone else do that?
Jim has broken into my apartment.
It's a great background.
Jeremy, you've been working on some fun virtual things. Tell the people.
I have. I started this thing called Play Per View at the beginning of the pandemic, which is a live streaming theatrical charitable initiative where we present live stream theater direct to people's living rooms in an attempt to raise money for affected nonprofit theaters and community organizations. And we have our 25th reading coming up this weekend, and we've raised over $100,000 for various theaters and charitable causes.
That's awesome.
So it's been pretty busy and fun, and it's been weird to thank you for plugging the site.
Of course.
It's been very disorienting to kind of watch the whole world come to a screeching halt. And meanwhile, I've spent the last 6 months working with everyone in the theater industry I've ever wanted to work with in my life.
I mean, that's the reason I started Who Books That. It was a simple pitch. I was like, I bet there are some people who I normally might be too busy to let me interview them for an hour plus on video who might actually be willing to do it. And it's been insane.
I loved your talk with Matt King, by the way. I think I told you that before, but he's like one of my favorite, like, for me, he's like a very under the radar magician, but like more people should know who he is because he's so funny and he's so brilliant. And it's one of like the best Vegas shows that like I've ever gone to. It was like 2:00 on like a Tuesday at Harrah's.
He's like often the 4:00. I think he's the 4:00 afternoon performer, which is brilliant because if that is your life doing a 4:00 show, that means you're home in time to have dinner with your kids. You could not ask for a better schedule. It's pretty amazing. And I did the Matt King roast, which I'll tell you the very quick version of that story. I don't know if Mike, have you ever done a roast?
Funny story. Before I left on the cruise, I held a roast in my own honor, and 3 people showed up.
That's the best. Everybody else was roasting you in the best way possible.
It was the most meta thing ever, and I loved it.
That's so good. Jim, have you ever been in a roast?
I have not been in a roast. No.
Oh, the Matt Ging roast, and I've told this story before, so stop me if you've heard it. But I got to the roast. I was just a guest, and the dais was insane. Amazing Jonathan, Penn Jillette, like amazing people. Derek Hughes, Michael Carbonaro. So we get there. I get there, and Matt comes to my table, and he runs a joke by me, and he goes, "How come you're not doing this?" And I was like, I would love to do it. I haven't been asked to. He goes, "All right, I'll talk to the guy." As a couple of people have dropped out, so there's a spot. 15 minutes before the roast, I find out I am roasting in front of like 1,000 people. Everybody on the dais is everybody I've ever grown up loving as a comedy magician. Matt King is the guest of honor. I take my laptop, which happens to be in my backpack because I'm a dork. I start furiously typing roast. Thank God I have like a million. I've done a lot of roasts. I've been in roast battle and judge roast battle. So I've experienced with the form. I've roasted magic before. I've done a roast of magic kind of thing at different conventions. And then throughout the roast, I was off. My legs were like this. This is where the proscenium ended. So I was typing my roast as the roast was happening. So I managed to get, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes of roast writing time total. Grabbed my laptop itself, put it on the dais, and did a roast. And people thought I was kidding when I said I only had to. I didn't know I was going to do it until 15 minutes before.
It's an improvised roast.
I fooled the people.
Improvised roast.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, Harrison, that I loved your interview with Rudy Kobe. That was my favorite one.
Thank you. 12-year-old me lost his goddamn mind. Because as I mentioned in my intro to Rudy, and do you guys, Jeremy and Mike, have you ever seen Rudy Kobe?
I haven't.
No.
But I love how excited you are about it, and it makes me want to go look into who it is.
They're all on YouTube.
He's a good example. He had two specials in 94 and 95, or 95 and 96. I think it was 94 and 95. They were fantastic. He plays a character named Labman. And as a kid, they were the best. It was on Fox.
Yeah.
Copperfield was very serious and incredible. And Rudy was like, if you like Saturday morning cartoons, he made fun of Copperfield in his special.
Magic Dave. And it was just this ludicrous, crazy, body parts are flying everywhere. There's a musical number in the middle. It's insane. My neighbor was flipping through channels. I was outside. I saw Rudy Kobe on the screen. I come running in. Didn't realize the screen door was shut. I took out the screen door. I broke their screen door. My parents had to pay to replace a screen door at this other person's house because of Rudy Kobe. And now flash forward to the quarantine, and I got to have a huge chat with him. I found out, this was one of the things I did not know. I researched him as much as I could. Never found this in print, but he had 3 weeks to make the special. I found out 3 weeks before the special taped that he was doing an hour-long prime time special on network for Fox. He had 3 weeks to put it together, and I would argue he knocked it out of the park. It's amazing. Agreed.
That sounds like a Muppet Show type scenario. Like,
hey, you only have 2 hours to put this show together. What are we going to do?
Theater.
Or they're gonna knock the theater down.
Let's go ahead and kidnap some people.
Harrison,
Jeremy, you'll go in 1 second. But the Sir Ian McKellen quote, just to tie a bow tie on it, is that success in entertainment is you don't know when the door is going to open, but you need to be prepared to walk through it. So Rudy had no idea when that special door was going to open, but when it did open, he had a comic book. His set is actually just pulled right from the comic book that he made for his character. He had his act ready to go because he'd been doing it at theater. His act had a musician in it doing live music, so that guy was able to write music. Amazing. But Jeremy, go for it. Go.
I wanted to ask you, in terms of like all the digital stuff that you've been doing, do you think, I'm curious, I think the irony of like everything being terrible and no one being able to go anywhere right now is that like everyone is so accessible. So for you, do you think like it's been like this amazing like blessing in a sea of terribleness to like have this opportunity to sit down and like talk to like your peers and your heroes and like people you really love and respect?
Oh, 100%. The only thing that's a bummer is they'll give me like very inspirational advice, or they'll say something that I'm like, wow, I need to incorporate that into my show. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to wait some months, if not a year, before I get to incorporate that into my show.
I mean, I got to see Bill Irwin do street theater tonight, so I mean, who knows what.
Was it outdoors or was it like zoomed in?
Yeah, so the Vineyard Theater is doing this thing with him this week where it's only for like their members, but honestly, you can just kind of walk up and watch it because it's happening right next to the Flatiron Building. But he's got like the suspenders and the hat and the bow tie, and he's 7 years old and a Tony winner, and he's street busking, and it was just, I mean, I can't describe it. I just wrote a thing on my Twitter that I've been very fortunate to see Bill on stage 4 times in the last 10 years, and there's just something so beautiful about the fact that like he's so accomplished in so many other areas. He won a Tony, he's a MacArthur Genius Grant recipient. He was on Legion. He's been in film, television for years. And he's doing street theater in the middle of a pandemic because he loves to perform so much and he's so willing and wants. I had the biggest, like you couldn't see because I was wearing a mask, but I had the biggest grin on my face the whole time because it was just like, especially with everything going on, just to have that levity for like 8 minutes with other people and to be able to like be standing 6 feet from someone like that doing that. Like he doesn't need to doing something like that, but it's so ingrained in him as this vaudeville circus performer that he sees what's going on and he sees the theater company hurting and he reaches out to him and goes, what can we do right now? What can I do for you? So it just was like, it was really inspiring. And he's just, if the people watching don't know who Bill Irwin is, please go look up his stuff. He is hilarious, funny, genius, brilliant, smart, beautiful.
And nothing like Steve Irwin. Very different from Steve Irwin.
Yeah. Well, the big difference being one is alive and one is no longer with us.
Sad,
that is fair.
but
And only
true.
one of them I think would get into a fight with a stingray. I think there's only one. This brings us all the way back to Gilbert because we're going to go down that path.
Do you think he would? Do you think if given the opportunity, Gilbert Gottfried for a publicity stunt would get into a fight with a stingray?
Oh no, he would make fun of somebody who died because of it.
But I want to see him get into a fight with a stingray. I want to put him in a cage in the water.
That's one of the big. That's the weird thing about like all this stuff happening. All I want to hear is Joan Rivers' take on Trump, on Corona. I know if she was still alive, she would have insane jokes to make about all of it.
Well, she's got Trump jokes. She was making them back in like the 80s and the, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure if you look around, you can find her doing Trump material because everyone in New York knew what a joke he was decades ago. So.
Well, I mean, if she had a joke being like, man, that pandemic in 2020 is going to be a motherfucker, we really need to go through her whole recordings and find out what other prophecies she has. Could you imagine that there's just, if that would be very 2020, is there is one person on this earth who is legitimately a prophet and he's now a social media influencer hawking some kombucha and we just don't see what his prophecies are because they're expiring Instagram stories. That would be the perfect way to end 2020. Is some man has been warning us, but it expires too soon for any of us to figure it out.
Have you seen the meme that says it's something along the lines of like, what if 2021 says to 2020, hold my beer? Like, what if that?
Oh, no.
What if that is like the next logical progression? You talk about kind of like, you know, rule of threes, the whole the curvature. Like, what if that is like the Empire Strikes Back of this joke?
I hope not.
This could 2022. Hey, we've got Return of the Jedi.
Though,
you know,
I
let's
invested
just
in crotch cam. It's very exciting. All the native. What else can you use all this equipment for? But what?
How are you doing this? How have you put a camera underneath your table just to show us your junk?
No, it's really it's just for people who are watching. You don't think I'm being weird. It's for magic.
Like, why do you do this?
I didn't see
but if we don't have magic here, and I lean in, it loses its. It just looks sad. It just looks sad and weird.
Are you using OBS to do that?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Are you using OBS to do that? How are you doing that?
I'm using Ecamm, which
okay.
the funny thing about virtual is it was hard enough to just be a comedian and a magician and be responsible for your show. Now I am an entire television studio
and producer.
That's why you have to be an improviser, my friend.
Studio apartment. I put the studio in studio apartment.
So show us what's your favorite trick to do on camera? You have the cards in your hand. You can't just dangle this little morsel in front of you.
Magic.
This feels like the thing that comedians talk about all the time of like, what's your least favorite thing? Is like, oh, when someone comes up to me and says, oh, you're a comedian, what's your favorite joke? I feel like this is the equivalent of like, oh, you're a magician with cards? Show me your favorite trick.
Do it.
Yeah, my favorite trick is making Mike Brown disappear.
Ah!
No, and now he's back again. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
That's brilliant.
Permanent.
That's brilliant.
Bring me back.
Magic.
What? What?
My powers know no limits.
How did you get a sausage with an upside down face on it? How did you manifest this?
Who sells that product?
So I got this out of one of those little grab machines in Puerto Rico.
You grabbed that strange sausage out of a
Sure
machine.
did. It was from a Denny's restaurant. It's part of the Grand Slam collections.
Oh,
Can you believe it?
yeah.
The Denny's restaurant, they have like these plush toys, but they embroidered the face on upside down. It's upside down.
Or did they?
Do you know how many?
In the crane machine.
My girlfriend works for
Upside down.
a real company, and so I know how hard it is to get anything through a company. And I've worked for, I produced a show for Disney. I've worked for big companies. That toy had to go through so many people. So many people had to say yes when it would have been easier to say no in order for you to get that weird ass sausage.
There's a whole collection. They have sausage. They have bacon. They have pancakes. There's a fourth one. I think it's a potato.
Are they all upside down and broken?
No.
Where was that one?
Jump on their website. Like they have if you just Google like Denny's restaurant plush sausage, you'll see like the whole collection.
Wait, be careful when you put that into Google.
Yeah,
Sausage.
Doing it right now.
Plush sausage. Just Google plush sausage.
Wait, Mike, where in the world were you when you went to this Denny's?
I was in Aguadilla in Puerto Rico. Great story, Mike.
Oh, here we go.
Tell us more about the various Denny's that you've been to around the country.
Oh man! Oh, I've got a great story about Denny's in Jamestown, New York. So my so I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. Yeah, see, there it is. That's the one. The face is right side up on there, but this one.
This sausage is very angry.
Horrified.
Nope.
I'm a little bit. I'm very upset about this pancake. I'm going to be honest. I'm very upset about it. His nose is butter. There's no way his nose could last very long. What's the point of a butter nose?
Oh,
it's
God.
like somebody who's born, like if you're born, I always said it, like I almost would rather be born blind than be born sighted than go blind. Now I'm just jinxing myself. But like this guy is born with a butter nose. It just seems tragic.
How dare you? How dare you, Harrison? How dare you assume that pancake has a butter nose? Who's to say that pancake has a nose at all? You're making assumptions where assumptions don't belong, my friend.
Hey, Harrison, can I ask you another question? I get into like interview mode when I get into circumstances like this, but I'm curious. Have you? So I've been producing Zoom theater for 6 months, and because of that, like it takes a lot to get me to watch someone else's like Zoom thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious for you, have you watched some of these like digital magic shows? Like the one that Helder Guimaraes was doing at the Geffen, or like any of these other ones that have popped up. Have you watched any other fellow magicians doing like digital magic theater?
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I've seen a lot of immersive stuff. I've been going to Escatone a lot. That's a very, very fun show. It's like an immersive show that also has like escape room puzzly stuff. I just did a thing called Project Avatar, which is an escape room in like the Ukraine, where you control a Ukrainian man in a warehouse and he follows your commands. We were
Oh,
like,
no.
break that phone. And he threw that phone against a wall. And we realized we have absolute power.
Was that the thing on Facebook that I just saw on your page?
Yes. It was before my birthday. It was insane.
So for your birthday, you got to control a Ukrainian man for your birthday.
I mean, when you put it that way, it sounds
I mean,
it was an immersive entertainment and escape experience.
Great life
that also
choices.
involved me. He saw a scooter because there's a man with a GoPro. There was clearly a scooter in the room, and I said Avatar because that's his name in the game. I knew he had to get to another room. They're all lettered, and I said Avatar, I need you to go to room K, but please use the scooter and please make it fancy. And if I told you, it was the fanciest scootering I've ever seen. He really scootered the shit out of that warehouse.
wow.
It was worth it.
Wow.
I think I wrote an essay. I wrote an essay for this convention that I'm doing on Sunday, unconventional.fun. And I suggested that if you have a bad magic show on Zoom is an even worse magic show. Putting it on Zoom is not going to make it better. A bad magic show on Zoom is like a photograph that you take of your shit. It's still your shit, but people are going to really question why you thought it was a good idea to photograph and then send out. I think the key with Zoom magic and Zoom shows in general is you have to understand the art form. Like I saw a lot of the shows that you were putting together. It takes advantage of the medium itself. You got to know that it's not TV, although it has qualities of TV. And be interact like you were competing with the whole internet. People who are watching me right now at any moment could hit Apple T and be on porn or buy their own Denny's sausage plush.
They better. They need it. They're hurting. They're hurting right now.
Harrison, can you put
that
that?
shows do stuff that feel like can only happen on Zoom.
Can you put the link for people who want to buy their own Denny's plush products this evening?
Absolutely.
Yes,
I was going to put this picture up because this is of all the sad sausage plush pictures that are available. This one really takes it. I think because
takes the pancake.
I don't think it's posed, but tell me that they don't look trapped.
It's horrifying.
They look like they really want to escape.
It's like that movie Sausage Fest. That was the name of the movie, right? Sausage Fest?
Sausage Party.
Yeah. Sausage Party. Sausage Party, yeah. They all want to escape the grocery store.
Sausage Party, these just look like a very sad like rip off, like the Chinatown version. You know when you go in Chinatown and
That's the one Mike has. That's the one Mike has. He has the
I'm pretty sure this is the rip off. It's produced by Kelly Toy?
That is definitely the knockoff sausage.
Yeah,
does it say where it was manufactured? What state?
It says surface wash only. All new materials, you guys. So we can trust that. For ages 3 and up, made in China. But then it says made in China, but then it has a U.S. address in Los Angeles.
Wait,
so who knows?
You said it's new material.
All new materials.
If that's his new material, I'd hate to see what his old material looked like. Thank you.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, if that's all new material, then it's better than half the Netflix specials I've seen lately. Roasted.
Not as good as my roast where nobody showed up.
That is honestly why write a roast when you could just not show up? That is the
perfect.
ultimate
roast. Does that mean if no one came to roast you, does that mean that people just love you and respect you too much to show up and insult you to your face?
No. No.
That's one way to look at it. If I was holding a roast and I showed up and there was no one in the audience for Degas, the first thing out of my mouth would be touche, but then I would be sad.
There was like I think I originally had 12 people on the dais and only 4 people on the dais showed up. And the people in the audience were significant others of the people on stage. So they were under obligation to show up. My girlfriend was one of 3. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And it was on the main stage of the pit.
We're all going to roast you, Mike. Here we go. We're all going to roast Mike right now.
Thank you.
Jeremy, you start.
Where'd everybody go? Am I the only one left in the room?
Someone else go. I'm sorry. I'm not good at on the spot. Someone else
After
go.
all that talk about rape bits, I was
Okay.
like, I don't know how much dead air I can really.
Oh, can we bring Ocean's 13 back one more time? Can we?
Well, I think we're about.
I got a good one. Mike looks like somehow a more hipster version of one of the brothers from Pete and Pete.
That is a compliment. I will take
Oh,
that to the bank.
well, I'm out.
Sorry. I
have
love
a
Pete and
dancing
Pete.
tattoo of a mermaid because I that's the part I remember was that he had a mermaid tattoo and he can make it wiggle.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Although if you want your Nickelodeon fill, I did get to fulfill one of my Nickelodeon fantasies this quarantine.
You
'cause I
better not
interviewed
say Ninja
Mark
Turtle.
Summers on Who Books That. He was a magician. That's how he started out. Still knows magic. And I got slimed at the end of that episode. So spoiler alert, fast forward to the end, I learned how to make slime, vanilla pudding, green food coloring, applesauce, oatmeal. It's delicious, and it is slime.
Applesauce is what makes it gross.
Fun fact about slime: I actually am the last person who was ever slimed at Nickelodeon Studios before it shut down.
Are you the reason? What did you do when you got slimed that they shut it down, Jeremy?
No. So they were shutting. I mean, they had stopped production at that building for years, and essentially they were just the only thing that was happening in the building was they were doing tours. But once production ended, there was no reason for the tours. But the tours would only always end in this game show kind of thing. And at a certain point, that was all they were doing because there wasn't a tour to do anymore because there was no active production. So we went. It's super funny. We went to the Hard Rock Cafe that was adjacent to the Universal Orlando property, and our waitress, for whatever reason, was the woman that picked the kids to get slimed during that show. And so we went, and it turned out, we didn't know this when we went, it was the last one they were doing. And she picked.
That's probably why she had a job at the Hard Rock, because she knew she needed an exit strategy.
So yeah, fun fact. And also, Small World, I've been actively trying to produce Mark Summers' solo show for quite a while.
He's such a sweetheart. He's so funny, and his one-man show is awesome.
It's great. We were really close to. We were starting to put plans together to tape it as a special. And then, of course, everything happened. So it's still on the table. But he's also I don't know if he talked about this during the interview, but he's had bouts with cancer, and he is a man of a certain age. So we still want to do it, but we have to wait till there's a vaccine and all of that stuff before I even feel comfortable safely approaching that. But no, his solo was great.
I think there's going to be people who go right on tour as fast as possible, and we don't need to fill Madison Square Garden immediately.
But if I can get dark for a second, don't you think that there's something very apropos about the last person getting slimed killing Mark Summers?
No.
Isn't there something beautiful?
Oh.
Isn't there a bookend? It's a beautiful symmetry.
Oh, poor Mark Summers.
I appreciate
National
that.
treasure.
Yeah, the sequel to his show, What Would You Do, is What Did You Do? And then the third one is just Why? Oh, he's a national treasure, that man.
Oh,
Please don't wish. Yeah, he really is. It was so funny. When they just did this last revival of Double Dare, I was in LA and I got to go to a taping, which is so funny because it's just, I'm now at an age where I'm watching my childhood come back, which is really weird. It happens, if you were an 80s kid, it kind of cycled through. If you're a 90s kid, a lot of 90s stuff is starting to kind of cycle back through. And so in a 1-year period, I went to a Double Dare taping, which I never got to go to as a kid. And I went to a taping of All That, which I never got to go to as a kid. And both times I was clearly the oldest person there that was not with their own child. And it was super funny. This run of all that just aired, and the episode that we went to, you can see during the musical guest, me and my buddy Will are just on the peripheral. You can see us, and it's just like a sea of kids around us. It's so weird and disorienting to just like live the childhood you wanted to live way past the point of when you should have been living it.
Have you not seen the wall behind me?
I mean, I'll show you.
Have you ever bought a pop figure before? Jesus.
Look, I've got like 20 of them right there.
But I do think Jim's apartment looks amazing.
I have Dare to Be Stupid.
I
have Dare to Be Stupid, and I've got Steve Martin.
You have fantastic taste. I love your color scheme, everything about it.
Harrison, can I ask you, do you live in an oxygen bar?
That's a fair question.
Is that for my energy?
No, because you've got like the lighting on the wall. Like I would expect if you've got the stools and the lights. I feel like if you turn your camera just slightly, there's like oxygen, the whatever they are you hook into your nose, like just slightly off camera.
Yes, also a low-budget karaoke bar that's trying to attract customers. There's like one street in Koreatown where everybody has fantastic. That's my favorite street because it's where all the escape rooms were for a time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's one of my favorite parts of the city.
I feel like this is going to be Harrison's spin-off show is just him doing solo karaoke all by himself. Nobody's invited.
Oh my God, that would be the most brilliant. You know what's really funny that you bring that up? I've always dreamed of, I want to do like a solo show that's set in a karaoke room and it's for like 6 people at a time. And it's just someone, like the whole story is like someone having a breakdown as they're like so it's like part torture, part escape room, part solo show.
Oh man.
I did do an escape room that you end up in essentially a recording booth. And in order to get rid of this demon spirit, you have to sing, I think it's Don't Stop Believin'. But it's a weird place. You're in a mental escape room place, and they're like, in order to get rid of the demon, you better sing. So you're like, you're in a hostage situation to sing "Don't Stop Believin'," and then they want to sell you the DVD of it afterwards. And it's a weird rendition of that song.
I thought you were pitching something, and then I realized 3/4 of the way through that story, it was something that you unfortunately experienced in real life.
Oh, not unfortunate. I live for that. I'm that weirdo. Like there was an escape room in Brooklyn. I don't know if you know about this. It was only for 2 people at a time, and each one was chained into a coffin. And I paid money for it, and I loved it.
Holy crap!
I escaped, and I asked them what happens if there's a fire because they really chain you in, and they were just like they're Russian. They're like you die.
Is it technically though cheating if you're a magician that goes to an escape room?
You know what? I know some magicians who overthink the puzzles because they try to figure out the mechanisms of stuff. It could sometimes be a disadvantage, but I do have a good eye for a trap door. If I'm looking around, I'm like, that bookshelf is a door, I betcha.
Hey, Harrison, I have 2 questions for you. Neither one are related to each other. 1, as a comedian, what is your favorite joke? And 2, as a magician, what is your favorite trick?
Oh, God. I don't have a favorite either because I think it's like choosing your child. So it's whatever was not in a band.
This was a total bogus question. Total bogus question. It was a callback. See, everything that I do is always a callback to something that is not worth calling back.
Well, if none of us knew it was a callback, would you consider that solo improv?
Meta. That is so meta.
But just wait for the 3rd time around.
You just got inside of my head. That's like Ocean's 14.
Well, we have gone way longer than I ever expected to on this Coronacast. I think it's supposed to be over at 7 p.m. And Metal Boatman saying, I cannot believe you did the coffin one, sounded scary AF. It was pretty scary.
Was there really no emergency way to get out of the chains just in case?
Not that I could see, to be honest. And you get a real cell phone that you discover the number to call the police station. But if I had dialed anything but that number, I would have been calling a real person and saying, hey, I'm sealed in a coffin. Please come rescue me.
Isn't this
I don't know where I am, but I think I'm near a factory.
Isn't this just the plot of that Ryan Reynolds movie where he's buried alive with a phone and like a matchstick and like a bunch of stuff?
Yes, Just Friends.
Yes.
Comedy classic, Just Friends.
Correct.
Let's plug everybody. Mike Brown, you can follow him at Gotta Love Them Movies.
It's not .com. It's just on YouTube. So take off the .com. Yeah.
Disregard that entirely. Here we go. YouTube, Gotta Love Them Movies. It's fixed now. There you go. Gotta Love Them Movies. Go on YouTube. Also, Jeremy's doing incredible work. Play-perview.com. Incredible shows, raising great money for great causes. Make sure you support him. It's all really amazing stuff. Jim, how can we find you?
jmagicproductions.com.
jmagicproductions.com. He has a fantastic home studio, great lighting. Evidently, it looks like an oxygen bar. jmagicproductions.com. I hope his set is just screen grabs of my set. Just like a slideshow.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Harrison Comedy every Wednesday, 7 p.m. WhoBooksThat.com. Every Thursday, 8 p.m. Scam Online, MagicScam.com, a virtual magic show. It's super fun. We've gone crazy. It's a sci-fi show. There's time travel. Jim is a member of Scam.
I'm a huge fan.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It has gotten insane, has it not?
It has gotten insane. I can't wait to see what happens in season 2. Like, how do you even start season 2?
It's going to be insane. If you like time travel and international traveling all over, we did a world episode where we traveled all over the world, but only Canada.
And Haunted Mansion time traveling plants. Amazing.
That's my time travel device right there, the PLANT, baby. Right over there. If you don't know what that means, go to magicscam.com. I promise it makes sense. That has been the Coronacast. A huge thanks one more time to Jim, Mike, and Jeremy. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and stay well. Follow me at Harrison Comedy. I'm doing a big fundraiser for Joe Biden. Yes, we're doing it for Joe Biden October 4th. That's a Sunday. If you follow me on Twitter, you can get tickets right there or on Facebook. Buy your tickets. Support that campaign. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Harrison Greenbaum. See you real soon.